To demonstrate creating a virtual machine that uses a differencing disk, I'm actually going to go to RTS Serve 1 and I'm going to shut it down. And that's just going to power off. I'll just close the connection window there. So you'll see RTS Serve 1 is off. What I'm going to do is actually go create a new virtual hard drive. So when I go to New, under Actions, there's a hard disk. This is going to be a virtual hard drive. Well, I'm going to choose Next on the Before You Begin. I'm going to choose VHDX. We talked about fixed and dynamically expanding. I'm going to choose differencing. And it even tells us this disk is associated in a parent-child relationship. That's what we want. I'll choose Next. Now it says, what do you want to name the disk we're creating? And I'm just going to name it Diff. It's going to be saved to that default location. See users, public, documents, Hyper-V, virtual hard disks. Same location as all my other virtual disks. So I'm going to choose Next for that. Now it says, specify the virtual hard disk you want to use as the parent. Well, notice it's looking in that same location. See users, pub, documents, Hyper-V, virtual hard disks. Well, when I browse, RTS Serve 1 has a drive that shows up here. It's actually 10 gigs when we hover over it. I'm going to choose that drive. And we're done. We'll go to Next. So I'm creating a differencing disk named Diff. And the parent is RTS Serve 1.vhdx. So I'll click Finish for that. The differencing disk is now created, but you can't do anything with it yet. So what I'm going to do is create a new virtual machine. I'm going to name my new virtual machine Test VM. Now we'll accept the common settings we've defined many times already. I'm just going to choose Next. I'm going to say Generation 2. Next. Memory, that's fine. 1024 megs. I don't need it connected to a virtual switch, but if I wanted to, whatever virtual switch it should use, I could connect it now, but I'm going to leave it on Not Connected. For the virtual hard disk, notice it wants to create a new virtual hard disk. That is the part we have to change. I don't want this to create a new virtual hard disk like the other virtual machines I've already created. Instead, I want to use an existing virtual hard disk. So I'm going to choose that Use an Existing, and I'm going to browse. This diff is the 4 meg disk. If I go to the properties of that drive, you'll see it's only 4 megs right now. So with that, I'm going to just click Open. And now this virtual machine is using that 4 meg diff VHDX file. So we'll just go Next and Finish. The virtual machine, Test VM, shows up in the list. Well, if I click Connect and just start this, it's going to power up. As this is starting up, I want to open that folder on my C users, public, docs, Hyper-V, virtual hard disk. Notice the number is changing for that rapidly. So you can see that number just jumped up to 292 megabytes. As the virtual machine starts, that grew from 4 megs and it just ticked up. Now, what happens, RTS Serve 1, when I'm using this test VM, it reads the operating system files from RTS Serve 1. But any changes you make, anything you install, will all reside in this diff disk. Well, we can see it just jumped up to 356 megabytes. And I do believe it's at the login screen. So I'm going to close that folder. But you'll see for this machine, I can actually log into it. So in a matter of, 60 seconds, I created a brand new operating system. So you can see this is a fully functioning virtual machine, but we know it's a differencing disk that actually powers this virtual machine. So we can see this is completely online. But if I minimize it and go back to that folder, that has now grown to be 964 megs. So What I've done is create a new computer, basically, a new virtual machine, and it consumed, well, that number just ticked up again. And we're at what, 996 megabytes. So just under 1 gig this consumed. If you do a clean install of the operating system, it consumes about 10 gigs of space. So roughly, I have a 90% space savings with my differencing disk. Now you'll see, as a few things are still being written in the back end, that number ticked up slightly again. Now it sits at exactly 1 gig. But if I were to go install a role or features or anything like that, this differencing disk is just going to continue to grow, but this RTS Serve 1 will never get any larger. The beauty of this is, as we said earlier, you can do this over and over. I could create another differencing disk that's linked to RTS Serve 1 and another virtual machine for that new differencing disk. You could do this 3, 4, 5, 6 times over if you wanted, and you could run 6 virtual machines and have minimal space consumed. Now, you would not do this in a production environment, only like a test environment would you typically do this, because if anything ever became corrupt for whatever reason in RTS Serve 1, this differencing disk would never run again because it has no true operating system in it. It reads the operating system from RTS Serve 1. So in that sense, RTS Serve 1, that drive would be a single point of failure for all your virtual machines. But great to use in a lab environment. What I do for a lot of the courses I teach in person, I have a virtual hard drive. Well, really, it's a virtual machine that runs 2012 R2, 2016, 2019, and Windows 10. I then go to Hyper-V Manager and I delete the virtual machines that run all those operating systems, but it leaves the virtual hard drive here. So then if I want to stand up a Windows 10 machine, quickly, I can just create a differencing disk and stand up a new Windows 10 machine, configure whatever I want. If I want a 2016 or 2019 server, it takes about a minute and you have it booted up and you can log into it. So very useful for test environments or your own personal like home lab if you run Hyper-V. Now I'm doing this in Server 2019, but at the Hyper-V level, you can do all these things in Windows 10 with the exception of replication and the live migration. Those are not supported in the client Hyper-V in Windows 10, but everything else is. The import, export, creating virtual machines, differencing disks, all that is the same between client and server OSs. Pretty fascinating. Now, I don't actually want this virtual machine, so I'm going to go to that test VM and I'm going to turn it off. And I'm actually going to delete it. I'm never going to use it for anything, so I'm just going to declutter my console. And that's now deleted.